Okay, a few things about this task. So this has to do with data, how we look at data, and then specifically crime statistics, since deviance is our current topic. Okay, you're going to start by watching this TED Talk. And David talks a lot about the visual nature of data and how specifically we need to often compare one piece of data to another in order to see the whole picture. So he'll talk a lot about having statistics in some sort of context to try and compare and contrast so that we really see what's going on. Down here, this is what I really want to talk to you about is, oh wait, back here. No, that's fine. Okay. Down here, you're going to look at this link, okay, which has 8 of these fantastic infographics from Stats Canada. I didn't get anything to happen really when I hit play, so I don't know what that's about, but oops. If you click on them, then you can see them bigger. Okay, so there's 8 of those. So it's really important, and you can see the numbers. If you go back to where I was, the numbers are down here. Okay, so what I need you to do in this document is to be very clear. Use the image numbers. Okay, so you may want to, even for both of these questions, you might want to make a table where in the left-hand column you put the number of the infographic that you're talking about, and on the right-hand side you write your information. Okay, but please use full sentences because I am marking your communication skills. Okay, so number 2 here is the thinking portion of this whole thing. I want you to imagine that you're in a position of power and you need to manipulate this data. So you're you're a politician, I was thinking, what if you were the owner of a huge company that builds prisons? How can you use bits and pieces of that data about crime to tell a story? It's not that you're going to make up lies. You're going to use the numbers, but you're going to pick and choose. So here's an example. So I found this infographic about Canadian aid, and here's something you need to think about. Sometimes it's a matter of shifting what I would call the units of measure, okay? So here we see 26 cents of every $100 that Canada earns are going to development assistance. I guess I'm assuming it's international aid, although it doesn't really say here, but it's some sort of aid, okay? So that number to me doesn't look like a whole heck of a lot. However, if the raw number, okay, and here 1.7% of our budget doesn't seem like a lot either. However, if that number in dollars, actual dollars, let's say it's $6 million, okay, even that doesn't sound like, let's say it's $60 million, okay, that's what that adds up to. If a politician stands up and says, this is crazy how much money we're sending all around the world, we have to take care of our own people first, they're not going to talk about the 26 cents on the dollar, on $100. They're going to talk about the $60 million. So, and that may be an accurate number of dollars, but how that person, the units of measure that they use, raw dollars instead of the proportion of earnings or the percentage of our budget, will tell a very different story. $60 million to your average Canadian, I would say, probably sounds like a whole lot of money. Okay. The other thing that you might do is leave out information. You may find that you would only tell part of the story. So units of measure is one. The other one is you may leave out part of something, right? So if, for instance, the divorce rate, okay, for example, let's say we have a timeline of it's a bar graph over time and it's showing us the divorce rate. If we want to make the case that divorce is a real problem in our society, let's say the divorce rate over the last 20 years had been decreasing until 4 years ago, and all of a sudden it started to increase a little bit. But on average, in the last 20 years, we're still lower than we were 20 years ago. If I want to make the case that divorce is a problem that we need to look at in this country, I'm not going to talk about the whole graph. I'm going to I'm going to shrink that graph. I'm only going to talk about the last 4 years, and I'm going to make the case that right now divorce is on the rise and we have to do something about it. So there's two things I think you need to be looking at for number. I'm sure there's other stuff that you guys are going to think of, and that's great. I look forward to that. But when I was looking through them, the first two things that sort of popped out is changing your units of measure. And then the other one is sort of shrinking how much data you're choosing to share. All right. So, and I want a really detailed explanation. So imagine that you're telling me, okay, so Ms. Burke, I'm a politician and here's what I want to do. And here's why I'm going to try and manipulate this data because I want to show X, Y, Z. This is the problem I want to illustrate. Here is the data that I'm going to use. It's on infographic number 2. And here's what I would do with that data to make it look differently, to make the truth tell a different story. Okay, which is what is happening all around us, right? It's not that politicians and people in power are necessarily being untruthful, but they're not so much always telling us the whole story, the context, right? This is why I think one of the reasons why I have such polarized politics these days. All right, I'm excited to see what you find.